this video, I'm talking about 5 career decisions that you may end up regretting by the time it's 2030. Did you know that 50% of people make career choices that they end up regretting? And the worst part of it is they don't realize that these choices they make today, they're going to regret in the future. So the question is, are you making career decisions that the future you is going to end up regretting? So let's break down the biggest career regrets people have, and more importantly, how to dodge them. I'm Rob. I am a 27 plus year recovering corporate HR professional. Okay, the word professional is debatable, but I've had the opportunity to work at some amazing companies. Yeah, even that one I survived. So I am on a mission to take what I've learned at those companies and share it with you. And if I can help somebody get their dream job or navigate a corporate landscape and get that promotion or whatever it is, that's a win for me. So if you like this type of content, please like and subscribe. I'd be honored if you did. Now, before I dive into the career regrets, I'm just going to call out one thing. I've already done this video once, but yesterday, unbeknownst to me, over my shoulder, the screensaver I have up there with my logo went away, and suddenly there were reruns of Baywatch playing. So I tried last night to edit it out, but I couldn't. You can look at it here. But I decided today I was just going to come in and redo the video. So bloopers happen, but here we go. So let's jump into the first regret, right? The first regret is fear of failure and avoiding risks, right? I think about, turning down promotions, new projects, new opportunities, just out of fear. We get complacent, we get comfortable in our roles. I'll give you an example. When I worked at Southwest, my first job there was an in-flight recruiter. I got to hire a flight attendant. So I traveled the country and talked to some amazing people, and the most bizarre people want to be flight attendants, by the way. So quite frankly, it was live entertainment. Well, one day I'm back at headquarters, and a team leader from another team came over and said, hey, we're starting up this college recruiting program and an intern program, and I think you'd be great to lead it. Do you know what I said? Nope. And I sent him walking. I mean, I shut him down quickly because I was happy. I was complacent. I was comfortable, and taking on something new, especially something new that the company hadn't done before, was potentially scary, right? It was uncharted territory, all the things. So thankfully, I had a good leader at the time who said, Rob, you really need to rethink this. So I did. I went back, I ate some crow, and I ended up getting the job, which I will tell you turned out to be such a great decision. It highlighted me. I was in a unique role. I was able to build something, and it just really set me up for the roles I had in the organization after that. And looking back, I'm so glad I had that. It was such a fun role, and I had to learn to slow down my knee-jerk reaction out of fear, and that knee-jerk was nope. So the other thing too is, when we get complacent, we get comfortable, we tend to settle for mediocrity, right? And, we have to really put in the forefront of our minds is our personal growth. So before I was out Southwest, here's another story from my career for you. I was in college admissions, so I was that guy at college fairs talking about schools, all that type of stuff. It was a great job. I still look back and I'm so thankful for that job. But it was easy. I could do it in my sleep, right? And I found myself one day talking to a recruiter from Southwest Airlines. I was looking for a part-time job just to go throw bags on the ramp and get flight benefits. That was my goal. So I took a risk without actually thinking about it. In the interview, I'm talking to her. Her name was Lisa Peterson. She was such a great person. I miss you, Lisa. You set me on a great track. But I'm talking to Lisa, and I kind of looked at her. I was like, I do what you do, kind of. And she's like, well, tell me more. So then we ended up talking for, it felt like an hour about that. Next thing I know, I'm on a plane to Dallas to interview for the job I ended up getting. And I want to say thank you to my boss at the time at Daniel Webster College, Paul LaBar, because I called him that night and I was like, hey, they want to interview me at Southwest, and I have to be on a plane tomorrow to go down for interviews in Dallas. And without hesitating, he said to me, this is a good opportunity for you in your career. I'd hate to lose you, but I support that. And he gave me the time off, and off I went. And obviously the rest is history, because the next thing I know, I'm selling my condo and I'm moving to Texas from New Hampshire. So take those leaps, right? You never know. Even if it's scary, you never know how it's going to turn out, and it could totally change the trajectory of your career. So the next thing I think what that holds us back from fear is we try to avoid mistakes, right? Or try to avoid putting ourselves in situations where maybe we're not the expert, right? But again, this is a chance to grow. So the example for me comes during my time at Starbucks. I was in this manufacturing HR job, and I saw a problem. I saw a problem in the learning and development function. In short, there was not one for manufacturing. All of the learning and development was focused on retail. So I came up with an idea and said, and basically put a plan together of what the concept is of building out this L&D function for manufacturing. I put a whole plan together, priced it out, all this, and then I find myself pitching it to my boss out of the blue. Well, long story short, I took that risk and it paid huge dividends for me because, again, I got to create something that nobody else, none of my peers were creating, and it led to bigger and better things down the road. And I had a significant impact on the business. So you know what else this did? When I was even interviewing at other companies, I keep using that as an example because I'm wildly proud of it, but it was such a good example because it set me apart from, my other HR peers who were doing kind of, wash, rinse, repeat of, standard HR stuff. I got to do something different. So I went out on a limb. I took a risk. Was it scary? Sure. Did I have to kind of figure it out? Were there some bumps along the way? Absolutely. But in the end, it paid off huge dividends. So don't be afraid to take that risk. Don't let fear stand in your way is my overall message. So the number 2 regret on my list. Hey, and don't forget to stick around to the end because we'll be talking about the biggest regret on my list that you may end up making and you may want to avoid. So stick around for that. So number 2 is neglecting your personal growth and happiness. Sometimes we let our jobs just overtake everything, right? I remember I always wanted to be that guy that answered the emails from the boss, right away, right? No matter if it was 7 in the morning or 11 at night, those types of things. That didn't do me any favors, other than people knew that I was going to respond at those times. And I probably didn't need to respond, right? Those things could wait till the morning. I should have put some guardrails around my personal life, right? Because it does impact others. You end up, you're watching TV with your spouse, and all of a sudden you find yourself on your phone answering emails or whatever it is, right? So you're not really present for your relationship. So that could be a problem. The other thing that took a backseat for me in my career was, getting into the gym and staying on a healthy routine. You have to prioritize certain things, and you can do it all. I just think it needs some thought and planning put into it, and flexibility there, right? Because some people are like, okay, this is my. I read something on Reddit once where somebody said, hey, can you come in for an 8 o'clock meeting? I know that's not normal, but can you please come in on this day? And the person's response was, no, I have an exercise class. Really? Okay, I appreciate the putting boundaries around that, but you have to be somewhat flexible as well. You can't be super rigid. And if balance is a problem, talk to your boss about it and say, hey, I'm really trying to strike a balance. I've got kids, I've got all this, and can we agree and align on, during X and Y times, I'm not going to be responding unless it's a super big emergency, something like that. But have that conversation. And then, the other thing that kind of holds us back from we're so focused on the job and not prioritizing our own personal development is trying to keep up with your peers in the office. Or on LinkedIn, right? I used to be obsessed with, oh my gosh, I see my peers, they're getting these big jobs. I've got to do the same. So then I'm obsessed with that, and I'm trying to juggle my other my job. And it just became all consuming. So you've got to put a plan in place. It sounds cheesy and maybe eye roll worthy, but put a development plan in place. Work it out with your boss so that they can see, hey, Rob wants to be in this job and he's got some gaps to close, and here's the plan to put it into motion, right? And then you've got to manage that plan and do what you said you're going to do. That will pay huge dividends and get you that job you want. But you can't just become obsessed with getting the job. You've got to put the work in to build yourself up and build up your skill set to get that job. So put a plan in place, work with your boss or your mentor or somebody you trust to really solidify that plan and keep it top of mind, so you can achieve those goals and get to that job you want. So let's move on. So the third regret, and again, I'm looking at my notes. I got to keep myself on track. It's early in the morning now that I have to do a reshoot, and I'm only on my second cup of coffee. Anyway, so we're on to regret number 3: ineffective networking and skill development. We just talked a little bit about skill development, so I'm going to really focus in on the networking. And I know if my friend Roger is watching this right now, he is chuckling to himself because, the culture at Starbucks, as one example, was that you've got to be seen, you've got to do this, networking roadshow when in the corporate headquarters, so that all these leaders know you. Because I found myself in a talent discussion once where I'm talking about my team, and matter of fact, I was talking about Roger. I wanted Roger in a certain role. I was really supportive of him. Well, people around the table, other leaders, were like, I won't support that because I don't know Roger. Okay, so you can't take my word for it. Fine. So next time Roger was in town, I said, man, you are going to go, and here's your list of people to get on their calendars and go do a meet and greet with them, because that will check that box. Now, while you're there, make sure you're not just going through the motions. Have a good conversation and learn from them, all of the things. But the next time in a talent discussion, I don't want to hear, I don't know Roger, so I don't support that. Sorry, Roger, you're my visual aid in this example, but it paid off for him because he got other roles and now he's killing it in a different job that he got promoted into. And I'm so proud to have worked with him and been able to support him. But those inner networks are so important. Another one comes to mind is when I wanted to get promoted from manager to director, my first director job, I was doing the roadshow, right? I was going around and going through the motions. And there's this one VP of HR who did not like me. I mean, the meet and greets were so awkward. I don't know. I was trying my best. I could tell she was like somewhere else in her mind, but I was going to make her like me or die trying. I think I was successful. I ended up getting a promotion, but just would I say we're best buds? No. But I think I got her on my side to at least give me okay, I'll support that. I don't care. Just make him stop coming to see me. Who knows? But get out there. Make sure you're really paying attention to your network. You never know. You could impact somebody as well. You don't always have to take something from the person you're interviewing with. They could also learn from you. So make sure you're offering items of value. And again, this is your time to brag. It's kind of like internal interviews. Tell people about yourself. Tell them something they may not know about you just from what they're hearing around the building. Again, those internal networks and networking conversations are super important and will pay off and will lead to bigger and better things. Then that leads me to mentors, right? So think about, I've seen some stuff and I've participated in it where, we kind of try to match. Everybody's got to have a mentor, right? And we try to force match people. Like it's almost the equivalent of putting names in a hat. And hey, you draw this one. Hey, you got Rob. Yay. That doesn't always work. So it's got to be more thoughtful than that. If you want to see if you see somebody that you say, hey, I want them as my mentor, go ask them. It's very flattering. I had one, my friend Shami, and she's killing it now. I'm so glad that she has achieved such great success. But she came to me and she's like, hey, I want you as my mentor. I was like, I don't know what to do with this, but okay. So we actually enriched each other and still do to this day. So go seek somebody out. Sometimes they may not have the time or bandwidth to devote to you, and that's all right. Don't take it personally, but seek somebody out that you're going to really have a good rapport with and really gain something from them as a mentor. And then again, the last thing about, skill development in our third regret here is if you're just kind of not paying attention to what you want to do next and building out, when we talked about the personal development plan, but making sure you're you're putting some things in place. And it doesn't always have to be, I took an online course to better myself, or, I did this special project. All of that kind of goes into the plan, right? It doesn't always have to be a one-trick pony. So I'll give you an example. When I worked at Frito-Lay, there was an opportunity or a call out for new inclusion trainers. So this was back in the day when we were teaching in person how to create inclusive workplaces type environments, right? So we'd hold classes and that type. So I raised my hand. I talked to my boss and I said, hey, this is something I think I'd like to do. So I did all that, and it was extra work. I didn't get a raise to do it. It was, volunteer, but it put me in a space where it informed my next promotion. So I went from the manager to senior manager, and I got promoted because I had visibility there. And I was obvious. I also will say, not trying not to sound arrogant, I did a pretty good job. And thank you, Carol Ann Schroeder, for mentoring me back in the day in the inclusion training and everything. That paved the way for so many opportunities after that, that I'm eternally grateful. And I've used that training in other aspects of my job. So my long-winded way, maybe rambling, is think about those opportunities that are going to get you and help enrich you from a skilled perspective for that next role. All right. So don't be afraid to put yourself out there, and make sure you're doing your real job, right? But then augment that job with other aspects so that you can not just be, oh, this person does their job and goes home, right? They've got a lot of other dimensions and layers to them that other people are going to find interesting, and other people, they're going to be drawn to you and are going to want you on their team. So let's go to regret number 4. And this is making decisions based on external pressure, or, otherwise known as keeping up with the Joneses, right? So I think about the first thing is like, you choose your career or a career move based on somebody else's expectations. So if I had listened to, and I don't want to say listen to, because it wasn't like my dad was forcing me to do this, but, my first major in college was my dad's profession. I was pre-pharmacy until I got to organic chemistry, which I barely got a D, and that was generous from the professor. But it didn't excite me. It was just like I didn't know what I wanted to do. Anyway, long story short, I found the school where I went and trained to be a pilot. But I ended up finding, I found my niche there. I felt like I just found, what's the word I'm looking for? I just found my place and my people at Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University. And then that led to a career in HR. Again, that's another video, but it just put, once I found my place, that opened doors for me to go in different directions I hadn't even thought about. So, pharmacy, that's great. It's just not my jam. And it served my dad well and some of my friends well. But, I finally found what was my jam. It took me a little while, but don't let other people's expectations inform what you're doing. Seek people's inputs, but then use that to formulate your plan, your path forward. The next thing about, in making decisions based on others' pressures is kind of a sub-bullet is, you have to advocate for yourself, right? Especially in a corporate environment in these very large organizations like I've worked in. If you're not saying what you want, if you're sitting in your cube waiting for somebody to tap you on the shoulder, you're going to be waiting a long time. So you've got to get out there. And again, it goes back to that networking or stating what you want. So I'll use my friend Melissa as an example. Melissa, she worked on my team, and I was proud to support her. But she was also very deliberate in saying, when she was at a manager level, hey, I want to get to be a director. So anybody she encountered, she worked that into the conversation. And that informed other conversations where it's planting seeds in people's heads, right? In decision makers' heads about future jobs. So not only did Melissa get to be a director because of her planning, she's now leads an HR function for an entire organization. So I'm super proud of her. But had she not been deliberate about stating what she wants and advocating for herself, she might be still sitting at the manager level, right? Waiting for somebody to come knock on her door or tap her on the shoulder. And, I'm not saying that shoulder taps don't happen, but if you really want to accelerate your career and get to where you want to go quicker, I would say you've got to really advocate for yourself. So think about that. And then lastly, again, advocating for yourself is, and I find myself it odd that I have this on my list, is about you've got to negotiate your salaries, even internally. Now, I remember I came from the school of thought years ago that if I got promoted or when I got promoted, I never negotiated my salary. I never said, I just said, oh, I got the 15% raise. Yay. I never asked the question because I let fear hold me back. Fear they were going to say, oh, no, we're going to pull that back. Fear that they're just going to say no. But that's really the worst thing they could say. You never know. They could say, okay, yeah, we'll give you another 5% or whatever it is, right? So don't be afraid to negotiate internally and, of course, externally. You don't always have to go with the first officer. But think about why, right? You've got to narrate that it's not just because I want more money. It's the why. What are you bringing to the table that would inform a higher level of compensation? So think about that when you're negotiating as well. Okay, now we are at the last regret the decision you may regret. And this one it may not apply to everybody. I'm just going to own that. So it's limiting your mobility too soon. So what do I mean by that? Well, I've seen a lot of people, myself included, accelerate their careers because they're open to relocation. I understand though that doesn't work for everybody. Sometimes, family ties are super important and a person's goal may be to live around the corner from mom and dad and grandparents are the next town over, that type of thing. And that's great. I would just say that in certain organizations that may limit your growth because you're limiting yourself to one spot. Now, if it's in a location like say here at Seattle, right? In Boeing, I'm just going to pick on them for a second. There's lots of opportunities there because there's a critical mass of employees here. But if you're at a field location where there are only so many roles, your ability to move up in the organization may be limited or may take longer. So just really think about that. Going back to my job at Starbucks when I led the manufacturing team, I didn't apply for that job. I'm not going to lie. So what happened was, and it's just a quick story, is I knew I was getting promoted to a director. I'd gone through the interviews. I thought I was going to backfill my boss who had recently got promoted and then vacating his director seat. So I'm sitting there. I've done all this stuff. And in he walks with a piece of paper in his hand, what I knew was the offer letter. And he sits down and he goes, well, how do you feel about manufacturing? Pause for a reaction, right? I just was like, I don't know what are you saying? I don't know what to do with this. And so long story short, there was a shuffling of deck chairs and all of a sudden the director of HR for manufacturing was open. And honestly, I had to really bite my tongue and slow down my knee jerk because I never saw myself in a hard hat with steel toe shoes on, that type of stuff, walking around a plant floor. I would never have self-selected into that. But hey, I wanted to get promoted. I'm not going to lie, right? And on the back end of that and accepting that job, that worked out so well for me. Like I said before, I got to create my own learning and development function within that job. I led a team of amazing people that I may not have gotten to know as well as I did. And they impacted me as much as hopefully I impacted them. And I am still friends with many of them today. And when I called out before Roger, which I don't even know if he's looking at this, but anyway, if you are, thanks again, Roger. You rock. But it turned out to be such a transformative role for me. And had I said no, that's not what I applied for, that's not what I wanted, et cetera, all these doors would not have opened for me in that role. So really put some thought into slowing down your knee-jerk reaction, really thinking through and weighing pros and cons of taking this job or that job if there are opportunities put in front of you. Don't let fear, again, that's my big headline here, is don't let that fear hold you back. So what's the takeaway here, right? It's first, like I said, don't let the fear hold you back. Invest in yourself. Network like your life and your career depends on it. Even if you don't want to, get out there and do it. You'll meet some great people, I promise. Make choices that make you happy. So again, don't always strive to make your parents happy or your spouse happy. Make sure at the end of the day, those decisions make you happy, and stay flexible. Be open to other possibilities. I promise you the future you will appreciate the fact that you put that thought and intention into those decisions. So with that, again, my name's Rob. I am on a mission to share what I've learned at all those great companies with you. And if I can help you navigate your career, land that dream job, or whatever else in the corporate world, I'm here to do that. So with that, I hope you all are well. I'd be honored again if you like this video. Let me know in the comments what's going on in your world, whether it's good, bad. I'd love to celebrate you, or if I can help you with some advice, I'm happy to do that. And hit that subscribe button as well. I'd be really honored. So until next time, new episodes drop on Thursdays and Sundays. Maybe Fridays sometimes if you have to deal with tech issues. Oh, look, it stayed. Yay. Anyway, I'll stop rambling. Have a good one, and we'll catch you next time. Take care. This video was recorded and produced by Just Talk Studios, the premier video podcasting studio in Bellevue, Washington. Visit justtalkstudios.com to learn more and book your session today.